Well, a very good evening to you and welcome to this timely conversation that this country is facing. I mean, look at the recent numbers. If we go by the statistics raised in the 2019 census, of the 47.6 million Kenyans at that time, 75% of that were below 35 years. Now, you'll say that ranges from year 1 to year 35. Now, within that framework, 29% were falling under the youth category, that is between the ages of 18 to 35. 29%, 2019. That figure has grown. And again, when you look on the flip side, because these young men and women have to be productively engaged. They're building lives, they're building families. Unemployment numbers actually at that particular time, 75% of those people without jobs fall under the ages of 18 and 35. There is an argument that between the ages of 18 to 24, most likely you're in school, and after that, that's when you get job. But be as it may, the challenge of unemployment is a big one in this country. There is the challenge of governance, where our young people are. And that's why today we're having a discussion on Matters Youth Engagement Forum. And we'll be tackling a myriad of issues that touch on young people. Because even as a country, we are a youthful population. We are a youthful country. In fact, the median age is 19 years. I have a heavy panel here. I can call them a youthful panel. And right next to me, I have Professor Patrick Osewa, who's the Senior Director for Africa Business Development at Regenesis Business School. Thank you very much for this discussion. Next to him, we have a youth who bears a very heavy name that is very significant when you talk about Africa, is Mr. Kennedy Sankara, who is a governance expert and also a political analyst. Thank you very much for making time. Next to him, we have Dr. Shem Agie, who's the CEO of Park and Use and also a very passionate advocate on matters transformation. And at the far end, we have Hussein Kamal, who's the general manager at Ashok Leyland. Gentlemen, thank you very much for making time. I always say I love the gender balance of this particular panel. I think we can do better. But since we're tackling the issues of youth, I'd like us to lay a strong foundation of this discussion because, I mean, the Kenyan youth is faced by a myriad of issues. We've touched on unemployment. Now we are talking matters to do with mental health. We have the issues of governance right now with the recent occurrences in our country. The youth is at the center of everything. Ideally, and this is a question to all of us, starting with you, Professor Patrick Osewa. At the core, who's a Kenyan youth? Because it seems identity, it's something that is in question when we talk about being Kenyan, and even for the young Kenyans, what it means to be Kenyan, because there's so much going on around in a globalized environment. What does it mean to be Kenyan and to be a youthful Kenyan from your perspective?
Thank you very much, Noah. Let's start from the big picture. I spent 7 years working in Asia as the Director of Health for the Asian Development Bank. And the biggest challenge they're facing, particularly in East Asia, is that the population is old. In Japan, for example, 30% of the population is above the age of 60. In Korea, it's 25% above the age of 60. So there they're concerned about the population growing older. And they look at us in Africa and say we are very lucky to have a young population. So whereas you term it as a problem, it's a good thing to have a youthful population. The challenge is how do we mobilize the youth towards a positive contribution towards our development. If we look at what proportion of the youth who finish high school, secondary school, go to university, TVET, or technical institutions, only 32% of them are placed in the institution of higher learning. nobody actually knows what happens to 67% of the population. This is why we have such a serious unemployment, because there isn't any mechanism to take care of this 67% of those people who finish high school. I would say that the biggest challenge we face in Kenya is that we do not have a very good professional career guidance. I'll give you an example. As Regenesis Business School, we have visited, in the past 3 months, we have visited 122 secondary schools and 200 churches to address this issue of youth. How do you advise the young people to choose the right career? And we are finding that is a big challenge, because at Form 2 is when, at a Form 2, someone is about the age of 14, 15, or 16. You're deciding what you're going to do, because the subjects matters. If you take sciences, biological sciences, you could choose to go to medical sciences. If you take physics and others, you could go to engineering sciences. So a child who is a student who is 16 or 15 years old is making a big decision, mostly sometimes by themselves, on what they're going to do in future. The average, let's take a girl child. The average female age in Kenya is about 78 years, between 72 to 78 years. And so you're deciding at a very tender age what you're going to do for almost 50 years of your life without serious guidance.
Okay.
Right. So we have, so this is why our youth face lots of problems, because we cannot decide. We don't know what career we should choose.
Okay.
Most high schools have career guidance teachers, but they're overwhelmed, and they also need to be prepared. The parents are not aware of how to advise. Only a few parents can do that, many can't. So we have a challenge on how to support our youth to be able to choose professional careers, to be able to get employed after secondary school or to proceed in future.
Okay. And I'm glad, Prof, the way you've tangent into education and the challenges that, first the youth in that particular specific issue. I want to go to Kennedy, because Kennedy, I mean, you carry the name of Sankara, and Sankara was one revolutionary youth in this Africa. People hold different perspectives, but at least there was that element of being a governance expert. There was an element of him taking reins and leadership and changing Burkina Faso within a very short span of time, 83 to 87. And I'm looking at that, and that was back in the 80s. Just the power of young people saying we need change. From your perspective now, coming back home, do you think the Kenyan youth, from an overall scale of things, from a macro scale of things, do you think the Kenyan youth is prioritized by this country on all facets, be it at the society level, at the governance level?
Thank you, Kimboi, for having me here. I would say that that begs the question of who is a young person in the perspective of our country. And politically, the political figures would always view young people as persons who are, lazy persons who can easily be engaged within the political framework, either by voting in a particular direction for those who are eligible for voting, or causing mayhems, just distracting the political process entirely in an election. The government or the society do not necessarily prioritize young people, because we have always been at the peripheries of decision making. We are only brought in when it is about to be implemented. But when it is being formulated, we are not in the picture. It becomes very difficult for you to implement an ideology that you are never part of. It's like you being given something to read that you never wrote. You may likely make grammatical mistakes in the process. So I would say the system generally has not prioritized young people, because when we speak about prioritization of young people, we look at available opportunities. How have we been treated? What employment opportunity have been created? Besides employment, have we enabled the environment to encourage innovation, creation, being creative and developing the society, because we know the available white-collar jobs may not really necessarily satisfy the youth population. But we need to go a step ahead. We need to make a conducive economic environment where creative people are going to find it very easy to venture into either business or whatever thing they are doing. Today, as a young person, if you want to start doing business, look at the licenses that are lined before you. What for? Are we really going to encourage innovation and self-reliance? Okay. We are telling young people, go and do business. This is a jobless person who went to the ballot to get a job, courtesy of your efforts, telling you to go and start a business. So how are we going to start the business? Have we availed the necessary funding funding modules that is going to support the things that we're telling young people to do? So the system has not really prioritized young people. Okay. You look at health sector. How many youth-friendly health facilities do we have around? How accessible can a young person walk into an hospital, express themselves freely in the challenges they are facing and get adequate support from the facilities? We still have a long way to go. Okay. Look at security-wise. How have young people been treated in the hands of the security management? The public policing framework is like a dog and a dog and a sheep. You see me, you run away. In real sense, it should be, you see me, I come closer to you, we speak, then we create an environment of partnership, then we reduce the crimes. Here we have a very different case. So the society treats youths as aliens.
Okay, definitely. Dr. Shem, you know, I would say, based on those sentiments by Sankara, it's a shame that the majority, and even looking at this continent, we are a very young continent. When the world is looking at Africa, they are looking at workforce because we have the numbers and we have youth. So longevity, if at all you are involved in productivity, we can tap into that. Whereas when we look across the world, either the population is decreasing or people are getting older and, you know, the younger guys don't want to have kids. So Africa seems to be that prime. But from where you sit, because you're an entrepreneur, most of the times when we talk to the young people, we go straight to, let us make sure that young people are having access to credit, you know, make it affordable, make it convenient. From where you sit, what should be the priority when tackling issues of the young people? Is there a foundational approach to it even before we go to the specifics of matters credit, matters to do with governance? What do we need to solve? Is it a mental situation, the way we process and handle the young people from your perspective?
Thank you, Mr. Kamboi, for having me here. And good evening to everyone. The youth matter is something that touches my heart so much because I'm a father. And if I have struggled in life to reach where I am, I'm not expecting my children to suffer the same way I suffered. Let me give you just a simple idea. From 1950s to 1980s, all the way to 90s, there was no telephone for us to get information to study what we are studying. Like the way you tap iPad and this digital, it was not there. We have the telephone, you wind it like, you see that one. And even that one, when that phone is ringing, you as a child, you can't go and touch it. Either your father or your mom or your big brother is the one to touch. You are not allowed. Today, the world has changed. So there's a digital access to all the children. So if I have a question to all African politicians, not only Kenya, what are you hiding from the youth that you think that they cannot know? What are you hiding from them? Because as soon as they have their phone, they will get any information about anything they want to do. But the problem we have with our African politicians, they don't go in as investors to the politics, or they don't go in as the interests of the nation itself. They go in the interest of themselves. This is where we have a big deficit between the youth and the elderly. The youth are suffering because politics has become scam. It has become lies. It has become serial killers, looting, corruption, name them. Imagine as we are sitting here and maybe one of our friends here want to be CEO for Standard. Only for us to give this guy, vote for him to be CEO and come and fire all of us. How does that work? So the problem we have is there's a total disconnect between the government and the youth. It's not the community. The community, your father is a mother, we care about our children. We're expecting them to get the best. There's no way a mother or a father will undermine your children. It doesn't happen like that. But the problem we have here is the politicians who has now loaned themselves into government, and when they get there, they think about only their family. How can you be gotten a job of an MP? And maybe, let me take it at the whole Nairobi, maybe Embakasi, and we have voted for you, over 100,000 people have voted for you as MP. Come to power so that you help us to clean our gutters, reduce pollution, make our market better, at least we get a good environment just to breathe. This person get the money, the first thing you want to buy is a V8. The second thing you want to buy is a house. The third thing he's thinking about is his girlfriend. Okay, where are the youth fixing in? So the problem we have here is that there is no room for the youth. The politicians has hijacked the government. So there is no way they have created any situation for the youth. It's a time for change that they have to take politics out of the youth's affair. Because the youth are the future of the nation.
Definitely.
There's no way we can underplay them. Yes.
Very, very critical. Like you've brought up V8, and that brings us to Hussein Kamal. Hussein, you deal with cars. So if they buy V8, you're very happy. You're making money. But because you're in private sector, you are in manufacturing, just as an industry player, especially from a private sector perspective. Because when you look at the number, private sector is the biggest employer in this country. What are we missing from your perspective? What are we missing when you're tackling this issue of the youth in this country?
So, thanks for having me, first of all, Noah. Pleasure being here. I think from where I sit, a big part of the problem that we have identified is that our education system, first of all, he mentioned politics and politicians failing us or failing the youth, but I think the education system is also massively failing the youth today. Part of the reason being is that we are still operating like we were in the 70s and the 80s, and yet the entire world has moved ahead. If you look at, I think our highest ranked university is Nairobi University today, yet you look at it in world rankings, we are very poorly ranked, very, very poorly ranked. Yeah, and that's a shame because Nairobi University once upon a time was, a shining beacon. Reason being is that we have failed to adapt to the changing times. Technology has moved ahead so quickly, things are moving ahead so fast that today, if you look at the emergence of AI, just as an example, that AI has suddenly come into the, workspace, and it is about to change so many things. It's already changing so many things. A lot of jobs are going to be irrelevant in the next 5 years, I think. Yeah. Just as an example, if you take AI today, you can put in a spreadsheet. It will do the data analysis for you. It will run everything for you. What does that mean for a large company? You don't need a whole bunch of analysts or even accountants for that matter. AI is going to generate everything for you. So what does that mean? Has anyone ever, I don't know if recently anyone has addressed this, but look at our universities today. We are still teaching or offering subjects like, anthropology and, different fields like this, which are no longer relevant in the field. So where I sit, we have a big, big issue when it comes to filling jobs. When we say there are no jobs, actually jobs are there. But to fill those jobs now is becoming an issue. And we need to actually change our way of of thinking. Yeah, just as an example, there is no national university which is offering automotive engineering. I think it is only TVETs, basically, polytechnics, these are the ones that are offering it as a diploma course. And yet, we have launched EVs. Yeah, there's companies who are setting up base here. I think we just had two major sign-offs. Who are they going to employ? Will we bring in a workforce from outside the country to handle these EVs when they need servicing? There is massive opportunity here, but I think we are failing to adapt, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So the issue of education, big one. We've brought up the issue of politics and governance, very, very important, and also very passionate about education. I want us to take a short break. When we come back, we delve with this education monster, yeah? It's okay, I make it sound a little bit bad, education monster, but monster in a good way, because it seems there is a very huge disconnect. And even when you see at policy progression within the country, it seems we might be heading towards a very interesting direction in regards to how we train our young people. In fact, it is said, Nelson Mandela once said that one of the most powerful weapons to change the world is nothing other than education, and education is the great equalizer. So we take a short break. Remember, this is the Youth Engagement Forum. If you have any questions, please talk to us at KTN Home _ KTN Home _ and also at KTN News KE. Also, that Twitter is still up. I can see right there. But also KTN Home _ those two Twitter handles. If you have any questions that you want us to address, I think we'll be keen to do that. For now, we take a short break. When you come back, we still continue diving into this issue of youth in Kenya. Is it the neglected majority? And what needs to change? That's the discussion tonight. Stay tuned.
Transform Kenya.